Canada doesn't make a penny anymore. They stopped in 2012. The Bahamas just retired its 3 starfish penny this year. Our neighbor to the south, Mexico, hasn't made the centavo coin in almost 50 years. Wow, is this a worldwide trend for pennies? I needed to research. Here's what I found. Australia's 1 cent had Queen Elizabeth II on one side.
Warmest good wishes to you all.
And a feather-tail glider on the other. This little guy can jump and glide tree to tree pretty far for its size, up to 92 feet. 1992 was the official end of their bronze penny in circulation. The coins were melted down to make the bronze medals for the 2000 Sydney Olympics. New Zealand killed their penny, which once had a tui bird on the back, which sounds like this, and the Queen on the front, who sounds like this.
Warmest good wishes to you all.
Ireland's penny had a bird from the Book of Kells and a harp on the back. Israel stopped making their 1 agora coin with the beautiful galley boat in 1991. Sweden in 1972. Denmark killed theirs. South Africa's penny was big. This one before the rand had the Queen on one side.
To you all.
And the Dromedara ship on the reverse. Their final penny had these Cape Sparrows. Brazil's penny ended in 2006. This one had the constellation of the Southern Cross. And Pedro Cabral, who discovered Brazil in 1500. Trinidad's penny had a hummingbird on it. Japan's 1 yen Showa coin wasn't worth making after 2016. Bamboo on one side, the date in Japanese on the other side says 1988. Finland stopped their penny in 1979. And Switzerland ended their Rapin 1 coin in 2007. And they've been minting some kind of penny since the 1200s. Not anymore. Wow. So you can see this is a worldwide trend. In the USA? Is it time to kill off the U.S. penny with its little tiny Abraham Lincoln in his chair? They are pretty much worthless. In our parents' and grandparents' time, saving them amounted to something. Now, even if I filled this pig, how much do I really have?
Pennies are around because of the psychology of selling. A 99-cent taco sells much, much better than a taco that costs $1. And for now, so that you can get change when the government charges you sales tax. Pennies are the most thrown out coin. A lot of Americans just throw their pennies away. They don't bother to pick them up. They're thrown away in every pond and fountain. Americans throw out $62 million in coins every year. At least 45% of the public say, get rid of the penny right now. You don't care that at least a few are under your car seats. And couch mining will turn some up and other misplaced items.
Oh, I've been looking for this. Perfect. This one. Bam.
If your penny has no mint mark letter under the date, it was made in this building at the Philadelphia Mint. They're so cool at the Philly Mint that on their 225th anniversary, they surprised us by putting a P mint mark on the 2017 penny, that year only. A D mint mark under the date means it comes from the Denver Mint in this exact building. An S mint mark means it was made here on 5th Street at the San Francisco Mint. And only on special pennies and quarters in 2019, a W means it came from a special mint near the U.S. Military Academy in West Point, New York, a place that also stores 22% of the USA's gold. Coins start as a giant coil of metal, 10,000 pounds each, and as long as 5 football fields. Machines cut out penny blanks like a cookie cutter. The penny design is then pressed into both sides. One coin press produces 720 coins per minute. They cost more to make than they're worth. Every 50 pennies cost the government almost $1. U.S. Mint lost 72 million on the 7 billion pennies they made last year. During the pandemic, people moved to electronic payments and peer-to-peer apps more than ever before. Coins, not needed. And with the inevitable inflation that will come from this much U.S. government spending, the penny will be worth even less. In 1857, the U.S. got rid of the American half-cent coin. Inflation made it almost worthless. Sound familiar?
Conspiracies are big today. People look for them everywhere. From the earth is flat to that government symbols are never accidental. They say that all the coins look in the same direction, except the penny. The penny's the only coin that's looking the other way. That's not true, though. There's the modern nickel, and this nickel's kind of looking at you. There's Susan B. Anthony, and the Sacagawea dollar coins, too. So that one is kind of a big nothing burger. 16 must mean something, though. About 16 pennies stacked make an inch tall, and there are 16 pennies to a foot. The oldest one I have is the New York penny. Before it was New York, it was a Dutch colony, so it wasn't unusual to find a coin made by the Dutch East India Company. This was their logo, even though the Dutch West India Company was predominant in the Americas. Because it was made of copper and its size, the dweet was called the penny and was common in New York until the Dutch stopped making them in 1794. The first U.S. officially made circulating coin was the Ben Franklin designed copper. And just like in the movie National Treasure, his design contained a cryptic message. Franklin gave us a sun, beaming down on a sundial, the words, "Mind your business," and the word, "Fugio." Just like the modern penny facing the wrong way, what the heck did this mean? Well, the sun beaming down on the sundial in 1787 meant time. Fugio in Latin means to fly or to flee. Time flies, so mind your business. Not mind your company, mind your affairs, your life, mind your work. On the back is the slogan, "We are one," surrounded by 13 chain links for the original 13 colonies. Getting this first coin made led to so much shenanigans I won't even go down the rat hole. But it kind of tells you what it was like back then. So I'll just tell you really fast. British coppers over here were counterfeited, so with coins as your pay, you were probably getting ripped off. That kept the economy from growing. Aren't human beings great? So the government decided to coin an official national copper that you could trust, with designs and mottos of Benjamin Franklin. Here's where the roller coaster of goo begins. Contract was awarded to James Jarvis, who had given a $10,000 bribe to William Dewar, the first Assistant Secretary of the Treasury. The contract? Make 300 tons of Fugio cents, 300 tons. So where do you get the copper from? The new American government had about 30 tons of British pennies on hand. Jarvis said, "Loan them to me, I'll melt them down, and that copper will give us a head start in making the new coins." Then he went to Europe to find more copper, but without cash up front, he was unsuccessful. Meanwhile, his father-in-law back home was running the biz using the government copper to make a bigger profit for himself, making 3.5 million Connecticut state coins, which were lighter in weight and a bigger profit making those instead. The government contract was due, though. When they learned that he was only able to make some Fugio cents with the leftover copper, the Treasury canceled the contract and said they wanted their copper back or else. So Jarvis went to Europe, the father-in-law fled to Europe. What happened to the pennies he did make? A New York merchant purchased all the Fugios remaining in the Treasury on credit at a deal, about 1/3 the face value. So now he was rich, right? Well, the fickle hand of fate is always laughing at you. 13 days later, a copper panic occurred, devaluing most of the coppers by about 75% of their value. Remember how he paid with credit? The loss landed the merchant in debtor's prison. Dewar also died in debtor's prison too, leaving a wife and 8 children with no money. What a bag of monkeys, huh? In 1926, bags of uncirculated mint Fugio coins were found in the basement of this building at the Bank of New York. From that time on, they were slowly given away one by one to favored customers, a few to the American Numismatic Society, others were sold to collectors. But many of these little gems with Ben Franklin's design suffered the ultimate indignity. The bank had many of them made into lucite paperweights for big mucky muck customers who probably threw them away. At least thank you, Ben, for the cool design. Thomas Jefferson remembered this fiasco and argued that we needed our own safe government-owned U.S. mint, no more contractors. So under George Washington, America's first penny was the flowing hair scent. The lady is supposed to be what Miss Liberty looks like. On the back is a chain with 15 links for the 15 states at the time, the original 13 colonies, plus the new states Vermont and Kentucky. And thanks to Thomas Jefferson, a fraction of 1/100 on the coin, to remind Americans that our penny is 1/100th of a dollar. Pretty radical idea at the time. People previously had been used to the penny being 1/240th of the British pound. U.S. money would be decimal. The public hated the crazy, insane hair, and that the woman appears to be in a fright. The Pennsylvania Gazette in 1793 called upon God to punish the coin designer. They mostly hated the chain, saying a chain is not a good symbol for liberty. The mint quickly replaced the chain with a leaf. To make the public happier, Miss Liberty was remade with more tame hair and a nice bow in the Liberty Cap penny. Now John Adams was president and we got the draped bust scent with the fraction still on the back. By 1808, Thomas Jefferson was president, and the U.S. penny was the classic head. She's now facing the other way, and her name is on her headband. The fraction 1/100 is gone. By now, they thought people knew 100 pennies make up a dollar. 1815, the year no pennies were made. We were in the War of 1812 with England, and they usually sold us the copper. 1816, James Madison was the prez. Production resumed, and because people didn't like the last penny either, we got a new Goddess Liberty design called the Coronet Large Cent. Now you think Twitter trolling is bad today. The design this time was called a spectacularly ugly head of Miss Liberty. So in 1839, Van Buren is president, they made Liberty look much younger in the new design, the braided hair scent. Now it's just before the Civil War. The president is Franklin Pierce, and in Washington, Congress tells the mint to make pennies much smaller because copper was getting expensive and to mix the copper with a cheaper metal. Pennies used to weigh a ton. They reduced the size to the size that pennies are today. The new smaller penny is called the Flying Eagle cent. People find the new smaller cents easier to use. 1859, James Buchanan is the president, and the Indian head penny would be the American penny for the next 50 years. The next year, they added the Union Shield to the back. Indian heads would be the penny into the early 20th century during years of massive American growth. The post office saluted it with a stamp in 1978. And if you're ever on Jeopardy, what is the smallest stamp the post office has ever made? The answer is this one, saluting the Indian head penny. People didn't like it because it was too small. And just because I know you want to know, the largest stamp from the U.S. Post Office ever, not a souvenir sheet, just a regular stamp, is this 1997 Mars Pathfinder stamp, 3 inches wide, 1.5 inches tall. Now it's 1909, the year of Lincoln's 100th birthday. President Teddy Roosevelt wanted to put one of his heroes on a coin. At Teddy's second inauguration, he wore a ring with a strand of Abraham Lincoln's hair inside. Which means with modern technology, we could use that today to clone 100 Abraham Lincolns.
Warning. Cloning in progress. Cloning in progress. Cloning in progress.
On Mount Rushmore, the one guy next to Lincoln is Teddy. The penny that we have to this day, the first American coin to feature a real person, the 1909 Lincoln head cent. A common thread here is that people hate everything anybody does. In this case, they said a man of Lincoln's importance should be on something higher than a penny. The counter-argument was that Lincoln was the common people's president. Mostly people were disturbed with putting a real person on a coin, a politician. That's kind of like what the monarchies of Europe did. But a ton of folks waited in line when it first came out at the Treasury Building in 1909 to get the first ones. The portrait on today's penny comes from this sculpture by Victor David Brenner that he made from this photo of Lincoln by Anthony Berger in the Washington studio of Matthew Brady. By the way, the photo that adorns the $5 bill was taken that same day. But Brenner had put his initials on the bottom of the penny. Public outcry was so loud at this, the mint quickly took them off within a week. That's why the 1909s with his initials are so valuable today. Remember this penny because it's going to come up at the end. A decade later, they changed their minds and put his VDB initials on the front, and every penny to this day after 1918 has them here on Lincoln's shoulder. 1943, Franklin Delano Roosevelt during World War II. Copper was needed for the war effort, so that year the pennies looked mighty different. Made of steels and zinc, they look really different from copper. 1943 steel pennies. Now it's 1959, Lincoln's 150th birthday. The president is Eisenhower, and time to switch up the back of the penny to the Lincoln Memorial. Frank Gasparo designed this side of the coin. This was his hand-drawn design. His initials, FG, are right here. Lincoln was the first person to be featured on both sides of a coin, Lincoln on the front and the little tiny Abe Lincoln on the back. Later in 1999, the New Jersey State Quarter had George on both sides. And by 2006, same with the South Dakota State Quarter. Lincoln's 200th birthday was a big year. Right at the end of President Bush's term, they ended the Lincoln Memorial and made 4 special bicentennial backs for just his birthday year. His birth and childhood in Kentucky, his formative years in Indiana, professional life in Illinois, and presidency in D.C. Since President Obama in 2010, we now have the Lincoln Union Shield penny. However, this time the shield commemorates Lincoln's preservation of the U.S. as a single country. 13 vertical stripes on the shield represent the states joined in one union. The federal government represented by the horizontal bar above. The bar's inscribed with the national motto E Pluribus Unum, which has 13 letters. It means out of many, one. And Jamaica's national slogan is quite similar. The modern shield penny has initials. LB for Lyndall Bass, designer of this side. She's from New Mexico. And JFM, Joseph F. Mena, sculptor and chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. He's from New Jersey. So what about the next big penny anniversary? Lincoln's 250th birthday in 2059. Well, no one can know the future for sure, but I think the penny will be gone much sooner, even in a few years from now. The penny is in grave danger. When I was a kid, we used to trick or treat with these orange boxes sending pennies to Africa. It was only pennies then. It's a good cause, but now the charity realizes that they'd go broke just with pennies. Now I think they want hard coin. I've collected them all my life.
I had a penny collection. I've never known a time without them.
Yet, something so tiny can really add up. Put 1 penny on a square of a chessboard and double it on each other square. I got 3,000 pennies from the bank to show you this, and they were thrilled to get rid of them. By doubling the amount on each square, I went through all I had in just 13 squares. The numbers got so high that by the last square, you would have needed 18 quintillion, 446 quadrillion, 774 trillion, 73 billion, 709,551,618 pennies. That is a sick number. Yes, I could have just shown you this equation, but this way is infinitely more fun. Since a penny weighs 2.5 grams, that's 50 trillion tons of pennies. Here's a thought. Underpay your mortgage by just a penny, and you'll get fined for not paying the full amount, and those fines can grow, and eventually the bank can take your house. The penny is worthless, expensive to make, people can't be bothered with them, and it's going to be retired soon, just like all those other countries did, including our neighbors, Canada and Mexico. The penny is in grave danger. It's the little coin nobody wants. I just like them.
People crush them in souvenir machines at zoos and museums. They'll prop up your uneven table leg. Unscrew screws. Put one in with fresh flowers to retard mold. Firestone says they're perfect to measure tread depth. Make your own tap shoes. There's Penny Marshall, Penny from The Big Bang Theory, Penny Hardaway, Money Penny from Bond. Vegas still has penny slots. Here at Circus Circus, they could win you a car. Pink and turquoise penny boards. Penny stocks. Most pop culture references are old. A penny for your thoughts. In for a penny, in for a pound. Inspector Gadget's penny.
They sure are, Penny.
Penny loafers. Penny farthing bicycle. Penny cartoons from Pee-wee. Penny fall machines. A supermarket in Germany. There's penne pasta. Take a penny, leave a penny.
Someone on the web called these things the petri dish of pocket lint and hobo boogers. Don didn't want to say booger, so I'm saying it.
Penny Lane. And Penny Lane, the Penny Bridge in Dublin. And Pennybacker Bridge in Austin. There are 4 towns in the world named Penny. There's Penny, Kentucky, right near Murray State University. And this one's in Russia, in Jamaica, Penny St. Anne. And there's Penny, British Columbia, Canada. This guy took 10 years to completely penny the walls of his basement. And with 7,500 pennies, Kelly Graham of Camius Jewelry Designs in LA made this beautiful penny floor. Thanks, Kelly, for letting us use your pictures. If you give a penny a really good spin, it will come up tails 4 out of 5 times. The Lincoln side is heavier. A sock of pennies in the fridge or freezer makes a terrific cold compress. And we like to keep cold cash around. Jim loves chocolate pennies.
Every time it rains, pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Be sure that your umbrella is upside down. Take them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and me.
Pennies are only on 2 of the 8 planets. Attached to NASA's Curiosity rover at Gale Crater on Mars is a camera calibration target. It's a beautiful 1909 Lincoln head cent with a little Mars dust outside its case. The rover is right here and still working. When the U.S. ditches the penny and they're all melted down or forgotten in couches or in the water or the dirt, this one will still be here. And they chose to send the one that has Victor D. Brenner's initials on the bottom. So let us know in the comments below how you feel. Do you want to get rid of the penny or keep it?
Thanks for watching, friends of Cutlers. If you like what we do, take a look at either of these other videos on our channel.